I used to think bullying was something you could clearly point to. Someone yelling at you, someone pushing you, something obvious enough that people would step in and fix it. But I've learned something a lot more uncomfortable. Bullying isn't always what people see. And sometimes, even when people do see it, it doesn't stop. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Mono and Emma, and today's video is about bullying. But not just the idea of it. It's about what it actually feels like when you're inside it. And what happens when you try and get help and it doesn't go the way you thought it would. I want to talk about this honestly because I don't think people really understand how layered it can be. And I know a lot of people need to hear it from someone else so they can understand for themselves. So recently, something happened involving a friend of mine in an online space we all use. He was commenting on another one of our friends' posts, and one person started targeting him for his beliefs. At first, it was kind of subtle. You could almost miss it if you weren't paying attention. But then it escalated. I remember the group chat blowing up and my friend crying about how horrid this person was being. So we obviously jumped in to help, to support him, to de-escalate it, and to stop it from getting worse. But by the time we stepped in, it had already gone too far. Not just in intensity, but in how quickly it had built up without anyone stopping it early. And that stuck with me because it made me realize how fast situations like that can grow when no one intervenes early enough or when people don't realize what's happening until it's already heavy. For me, bullying didn't start as something extreme either. I've been bullied throughout my life, and it was smaller at first. Comments, jokes, people picking at things that made me different or singled out, like my glasses. In middle school, in my PE class, some kids started targeting me pretty constantly. They didn't like that I was doing better than them at certain things. And at first, it was just name calling, stuff that I tried to brush off. Because I told myself something a lot of people tell themselves. It wasn't a big deal. I've been through worse. Just ignore it. But it didn't stay like that. It escalated into things that weren't just verbal anymore. There were moments where it crossed into actual physical intimidation, like throwing rocks, pushing me to the sidewalk, and even screaming slurs at me. And that's when it stops becoming something you can just ignore. When I told my mom, I remember the response I got was something along the lines of, "Oh, they just have a crush on you." Now, I think she meant that lightly, but I know that is the response so many people get in this situation, and it is not right. It did not help me. It just made me feel like I was overreacting, or even that nothing was going wrong and I was just blaming people for mindless things. So I kept on enduring. But it didn't get better. It got worse. Eventually, I stopped going to class. Not because I wanted to skip school. No, I love school. But because I didn't want to deal with what was happening there. I was done. And that's when it finally got noticed. My mom was frustrated with the skipping, and the situation made its way to the principal. I remember being called into the office, and I thought, maybe this is it. Maybe now it'll stop. I was asked questions like they were trying to figure out what was really happening. And honestly, I thought that meant something would change. But I didn't expect what happened after. The teacher came and got me out of my class, and he told me things like, they're model students. You need to just stop causing trouble and buck up. After hearing that, it's hard to describe. Because in that moment, I felt like what I was going through didn't matter the way I thought it did. After that, something changed for me. Not in a dramatic way, but quietly. I stopped believing that speaking up would automatically fix things. I stopped expecting immediate change. I stopped trusting people. And I think that's one of the most complicated parts of bullying that people don't talk about. It doesn't just affect what happens to you, it affects what you believe will happen if you say something. Still to this day, I struggle with social situations and trusting people and believing that people don't want the worst for me because of all the issues of bullying and other things that I have experienced in the past. When I think about these situations that I have shared with you and other ones that I have experienced, I see a pattern. Different circumstances, different settings, but the same idea underneath all of it. Things escalate quickly when they aren't addressed early. And when they are addressed, the response isn't always what people expect. Sometimes it helps. Sometimes it doesn't go far enough. And sometimes it makes people stop speaking up in the future. This is not about blaming one person or one moment. It's about understanding that bullying is more complicated than people think. It's not always visible. It's not always taken seriously right away. And it doesn't always stop because it's reported. If there's one thing I want people to take from this, it's that experiences like this don't exist in isolation. They build, they affect how you see yourself, and they affect how you see whether or not speaking up will actually help. I'm not saying don't talk to someone if something is happening. I'm saying that if someone comes to you, we need to listen. Because being heard is the first real step towards things getting better. Thank you all for watching.